Paris, 1888. A man opens his morning newspaper, sips his coffee, and freezes. Right there in the obituary section is his own name. The headline reads, "The Merchant of Death is dead." The article goes on to describe him as a monster who found ways to kill more people faster than anyone who had ever lived before. But there was a catch. The man reading the newspaper wasn't dead. It was a journalistic mistake. His brother had passed away, and the newspaper printed the wrong obituary. For the first time in human history, a person was given the terrifying privilege of reading their own legacy while still alive. And he absolutely hated what he saw. That man was Alfred Nobel. And the invention that earned him the title Merchant of Death. A simple, clay-like stick called dynamite. To understand dynamite, we have to understand the monster that came before it, nitroglycerin. Discovered in 1847 by an Italian chemist named Ascanio Sobrero, nitroglycerin was a scientific miracle and a logistical nightmare. It was a liquid explosive so incredibly volatile that a single rough bump, a drop in temperature, or even a heavy footstep next to the crate could cause it to detonate instantly. Sobrero was so terrified of his own creation that he stopped working on it entirely. But the world was industrializing. Humanity was desperate for raw power. We were trying to build transcontinental railroads, dig massive canals, and tunnel through mountains using nothing but black powder, picks, and human muscle. Progress was agonizingly slow. The world needed force, and Alfred Nobel stepped up to tame the liquid beast. Nobel experimented with nitroglycerin for years, trying to find a way to make it safe to transport. The cost of his research was written in blood. In 1864, his own laboratory blew up, killing 5 people including his younger brother, Emil. The government branded Nobel a madman and banned him from rebuilding his lab on land. Undeterred, he moved his experiments onto a wooden barge anchored in the middle of a lake. Then, in 1867, a breakthrough happened not by genius, but by pure accident. One day, a container of nitroglycerin leaked during transport, but instead of exploding, the liquid was safely absorbed by the unique packing material inside the crate, a porous, chalky earth called kieselguhr. Nobel noticed that when the volatile liquid soaked into this clay, it became a stable dough. You could roll it, stamp on it, slice it, and it wouldn't go off. It required a specific, intense shock, a blasting cap, which Nobel also invented to trigger the explosion. He called his new creation dynamite, from the ancient Greek word dynamis, meaning power. Dynamite was an instant global sensation. It represents an invisible social contract that defined the late 19th century. Humanity traded absolute danger for absolute progress. Think of dynamite not as a weapon, but as an architectural tool. Without it, the infrastructure of the modern world simply does not exist. The Panama Canal, which connected 2 oceans and reshaped global trade, carved out by tens of millions of pounds of dynamite. The American Transcontinental Railroad, blasting through the granite walls of the Sierra Nevada, driven by dynamite. The massive underground mines supplying the iron, coal, and copper needed for the Industrial Revolution, powered by dynamite. For the first time in history, human beings possessed geological force. We could literally reshape the face of the earth in seconds. Alfred Nobel became fabulously wealthy, opening factories in over 20 countries. He genuinely believed his invention would end all wars. He thought the sheer destructive power of dynamite would make armies realize that conflict was now too total and too suicidal to pursue. He was dead wrong. But here is the twist that Nobel never saw coming. He designed dynamite strictly for mining and construction. He thought it was too unstable and impractical for the chaos of a traditional battlefield. But he forgot about the dark side of human ingenuity. If you give humanity a tool that can break a mountain, someone will eventually use it to break a person. And the first people to weaponize dynamite weren't grand armies or military generals. They were terrorists. In the 1880s, a group known as the Irish Republican Brotherhood launched what history calls the Dynamite Campaign. It was the birth of modern urban terrorism. They didn't use dynamite on battlefields. They put it in black bags and left them in the London Underground, in crowded markets, and even outside the Houses of Parliament. Suddenly, the stick of progress became the ultimate weapon of fear. It was cheap, easy to conceal, and devastatingly effective. Nobel watched in horror as his invention, meant to unite the world through trade and infrastructure, became the preferred tool for asymmetric warfare and political assassination. This brings us to the uncomfortable reality of our modern world. Every piece of infrastructure we enjoy today, the tunnels we drive through, the minerals in our smartphones, the energy grid powering your home, was bought with a coin of extreme violence. Dynamite made mining incredibly fast, but it also made it vastly more profitable to exploit human labor on a massive scale. Millions of workers globally were pushed into unstable tunnels to pack volatile explosives into rock faces, facing daily cave-ins, toxic fumes, and premature detonations. And when standard dynamite wasn't destructive enough, chemistry evolved. Dynamite paved the way for military-grade high explosives like TNT and RDX. By the time World War I arrived, the descendants of Nobel's invention were raining down by the millions of tons across Europe, turning entire landscapes into craters and claiming the lives of a generation. Humanity took a tool meant to reshape geography and used it to erase civilization. Let's go back to that morning in Paris in 1888. Alfred Nobel, staring at his own premature obituary, realized that history was going to remember him as a monster. Determined to change his legacy, he secretly rewrote his will. When he died for real in 1896, he left 94% of his massive, dynamite-funded fortune to establish a series of prizes. Prizes designed to reward those who conferred the greatest benefit on mankind in physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and most importantly, peace. The Nobel Peace Prize, the world's highest honor for humanity, was funded entirely by the profits of the world's most devastating explosive. Every time we look at a mountain carved open for a highway or celebrate a scientist winning a Nobel Prize, we are looking at the exact same legacy. We live in a world built by dynamite, shaped by the fear of its power, and saved by a man who desperately wanted to change the final chapter of his story. The tools we build can break the world, or they can build it. The choice has always been ours. If this story made you look at the modern world a little differently, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below letting us know what ordinary object we should unwrap next, and join us on the next plate of history. Until next time.